What's poppin'? This is the Pre-Chiro podcast. My name is Dr. Ben Glass, and today I had the opportunity to connect with one of the philosophy instructors over at Lifewest, Dr. Ankur Tayal. This is going to be an interesting conversation for anyone who's considering this path to become a chiropractor because chiropractic is a philosophy. So, Dr. Ankur, can you just introduce yourself, share what you were up to before chiropractic school, and how you discovered chiropractic and decided to become a chiropractor to get us started?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, and good to see you again as well. Um, I was kind of conditioned to be a medical doctor. My parents immigrated to Canada and from India, and the culture is, medical doctor or bust is the way it is. So I stumbled into chiropractic when I went to the career fair of all things. I was in my freshman year of undergrad. We call that first year in Canada. And I was pretty conditioned to go to MD or bust. And what happened was that everybody else was going to the career fair and I had nothing to do that night. So I tagged along, and it was cold. This is Kingston, Ontario. It was cold. And I remember I was making my rounds and I met the chiropractor, and she was amazing. Dr. Martha Collins. She was absolutely incredible. She's probably done this 1,000 million times. She was volunteering. First of all, she was volunteering for a school that she did not go to, which I thought was interesting. And she's probably done this a million times, and I can't believe it worked. That's the whole thing. I can't believe it worked. It worked on me. And I guess that just goes to show that that's how it goes. And she said the words, "Have you ever thought about being a chiropractor?" And I said, "No." And then I had that moment. Doc, I had that moment, which was like that one moment of clarity in an otherwise cloudy time. And it was just like, yeah, actually, I don't know what chiropractic is. I should ask. I was genuinely curious. And so in 10 seconds, 15 seconds or less, she, like a champ that she is, she's just like, so, okay, pre-med, right? We don't call it that, but she got the attitude that I was projecting, I'm going to be a doctor. It's like, okay, you're smart. So that the spine houses and protects the nervous system. I said, yeah, of course. Who doesn't know that? And she said, well, the spine can misalign, right? And I was like, yeah, of course. And I thought to myself, that makes sense. I didn't actually know that. I've never been told that, but of course it makes sense. Lumps and bumps, you take a fall or you get in an accident, the spine can misalign. Well, when the spine misaligns, that affects the function of the nervous system. What? It was so obvious. It was so clear. It was like, in the cartoons when they have the light shining down. It was, and I got a little angry. Like, how's this the first time I'm hearing this? This is concerning to me. And the nature that I am, I challenged her a little bit, but that was the actually, I didn't challenge her. Yeah, that was the 10, 15 seconds that ended it. I was about to leave. And the reason I brought up how cold it was is because I didn't want to leave because it was so cold. And so I hesitated. And, I'm going to go talk to that chiropractor a little more. She was kind of cool. And that's when it all went down. That's when I challenged her a little bit. She showed me the ways, and you know what they say, I teach this in class. I actually, for those of you watching, I teach philosophy class. And so if you come to Lifewest, I get you on the first day of school. And I celebrate the idea that people in the room, hopefully, probably people watching, have had that chiropractic moment that has changed their life. The adjustment, or the family member, or the loved one. I love celebrating that, because that's we also say in school or in chiropractic, our developer BJ Palmer, he said, you never know how far-reaching something you may think, say, or do today, how that can affect the lives of millions tomorrow. And we just love that, because it's a huge idea. We call it the big idea, and it's like this domino effect of awesomeness. And the best part is that we never really know. And we celebrate that people have had that adjustment, whether it's themselves or their family members or their loved ones or somebody in their community that's just changed the whole trajectory of their lives. And we also celebrate that sometimes it's not the adjustment, it's a simple word, or it's a simple thought. And in my case, this is what blows my mind. And I reflect on this with Dr. Collins. She didn't adjust me until months later. I had to go home and I had to figure it all out, and I had to process it. And I had to be an academic about it, but that was it. That was all that I needed. That was the spark. It was just like 10 seconds, those 3 statements that I shared with you. And it was just like, wow. I would then follow and shadow and blah, 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 blah. The rest is history. And now I teach this stuff for a living. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What a gift.
What a gift. What a gift. Yeah, for me, I remember trying to really seek out and search for the right path. And I walked into an office. I had already been to a couple different chiropractic offices that were way different than this specific office. And I walked into it, and I just remember the initial feeling I had where I saw people smiling or laughing, and the office was colorful and there was music playing. And I was like, this is different. And I just keep going back to that flashback of that moment where I like met the chiropractor, and just the way that he introduced himself to me was really cool. So anyway, yeah, it's those moments.
You nailed it. Yeah, the way that people feel, how this is different, feeling. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you said that, or you speak about philosophy with students that are in their first quarter. What are some of the topics that you explore with them? Can we just provide some context of what chiropractic philosophy entails, what some of the aspects of that study are? And before I forget, when you were in school, I was in school with you. You did a presentation to the whole school about how we needed to increase standards for prospective chiropractic students. We don't have an MCAT, we don't have a GRE, but you talked about how could we develop a test or a series of experiences that were leading somebody to a credential or leading somebody to be acknowledged that they did the hard work before school. Before you get into philosophy, can you just talk about where you were coming from when you were working on that presentation, and just the messaging that you had brought forth that day? Because I feel like it was really relevant to the project that I'm working on right now here for prospective students.
That's awesome. I appreciate you remembering that. And I also wanted, before I answer the question, if I can take a liberty, I remember because we went to school together, as you said, and you transferred over. And I remember the day that you cruised in, and you had this look, and I imagine you'd already been on campus for a few moments, maybe 20, 30 minutes by the time I saw you, but you had that look, and it was that you kept saying it, I'm in the right place. I know I'm in the right place. I remember that vividly. And, that kind of speaks to what we were just talking about the first time that we discovered chiropractic. You just kind of, when you feel it, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And that's actually a segue to a later question that you asked me, but we call it that something. We call it that something in chiropractic. Yeah, what is that? What is that something that just like it awakens inside of us, and it kind of starts leading us? So we cover that on the first day of school as well. But let me answer your question first. Sorry for that segue, but the CCAT, those were in the days of the CCAT. So this was about 10, 12 years ago. And we were talking about that. And, here's what's interesting is there are some, in Canada, which is where I come from, it's pretty competitive to get into that school. And at least it was at the time. I don't know what it's like now, to be perfectly honest, but it was at the time. I imagine it still is. And the process was good. It was there was an essay component, an ethical essay. There was an interview, and there was a GPA component, a very, very strict GPA component. And when I reflect on that, it's the discussion was, well, is that what makes a good chiropractor? There's a tangible skill, there is a rapport skill, the soft skills that are imperative, that are absolutely imperative. Now the biggest challenge is, how do you screen for that? How do you screen for that? Because what we know is that if we had those stringent requirements, which I admit, we don't have as high of a GPA requirement as the Toronto school did at the time, at least. I don't know what it's like now. Well, then we'd be missing some of the best ones. And I'm not in any way condoning that grades aren't important. Not even in the slightest am I condoning that. But reality is reality. And we do adapt for that. We have a program at our school that if you have an arts degree, or a non-science degree, I should say, and you're passionate, and you maybe you had that adjustment to change your life, you woke that something, and you're clearly on purpose, and you don't have a science degree, well, then do we rule you out because of that? No, we're not willing to do that either. So it's a very complex question. And how do we adapt for that? Well, I can say with confidence and maybe a little bit of pride is that it's better than it was 12 years ago. That's for sure. We're definitely turning out better chiropractors. That's a completely subjective statement, by the way. I can't back that up in any way. So just to be clear, but I feel that way. I feel that way. So when it comes to standards, I think the solution is, and this is the actual answer to your question, internal standards, social accountability, respect within the profession for each other. That's what I teach at school. I say that, hey, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Now we're together. We're a profession, and we have accountability to ourselves. We have accountability to the people we serve. And here's that part's obvious. We also have accountability to the profession. I ask our students on the first day and the last day, because that's when I get them. I don't actually get the students in between. Who are the ethics police? The ethics police are us. The ethics police are us. So that's what I mean by raising the standards. I think that we can internally raise the standards. And then once that happens, then legislation or policy or what have you, that can easily follow. And I think that's absolutely what we're doing.
My premise of pre-chiro standards are that we challenge students to adapt. You use the word adapt a couple of times, and I think that chiropractic is really celebrating the adaptation that all of us have had in life and continue to have as we move through life, and how chiropractic helps people adapt better. And so for me, I want a student that's coming into chiropractic school, sitting in your first quarter, to already be primed, to really be primed with familiarity of some of the concepts that are central, like you said, the big idea or that something, so that when you're having a conversation, you could go deeper. Imagine if every student that was sitting in your classroom on day one was not getting introduced, but was actually getting to have a discussion about that. So you mentioned soft skills. Yeah. Challenging people to adapt to new circumstances that we put them in, or ask them to put themselves in. And that's what I think is possible, or that's the potential that I think that not having a CCAT, not having an entrance exam, but having a set of, and many different professions do this. They say have 500 hours of experiential learning, in a hospital or in a clinical setting. And it doesn't need to be any different with chiropractic. Spend time in an office, spend time in the real world, spending time. But anyway, I just want to go on that tangent with you, because I think it's super relevant to today with just a whole mishmash of convoluted stuff. I know you're building structure. Can you talk about the structure that you're building at Lifewest right now for prospective students, some of the resources that are available for prospective students based on the work you're doing?
Yeah, well, I love that you said experiential learning, because if you have that beforehand, you're absolutely right. Then that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at
1 second.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm going to have to wrap this because I have to get ready to go to the office.
Okay.
But I think we should pick up this conversation again and have another one of these, because you are one of the few people that are really dedicating yourself to uplifting the student experience in chiropractic education. And I want to give more time to sharing with you, but I really do have to get ready for practice.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. So what do we do?
We'll reschedule, and we'll chop this interview into the next interview.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you soon, my brother.
All right.